Hi, welcome to the Coffee with Lisa podcast. I believe that everyone in business has missing structures and endless possibilities to create new opportunities. The challenge is most don't know how to leverage the relationships for a win-win. I believe that your relationships will make the difference in the results you'll achieve, the impact you will have, and the speed in which you will make opportunities happen. I believe that you can see things through, but you often struggle to see through things. I'll make the invisible visible, the complex simple. Because of these beliefs, I created the Coffee with Lisa podcast and have invited the best experts to join me and share their experiences and knowledge with you so you can move faster and gain a competitive advantage in life and in business. Hello. If you are just joining me, I have got a special show today and podcast for you. I've got Gina Estrada with me, and Gina and I have had the pleasure to know each other for, I'm going to say what, Gina, 4 or 5 months, maybe roughly?
4 months? 4.5 months.
4.5 months. And I mean, this lady is killer. And her story is phenomenal. And just thinking about it gives me goosebumps right now. But having said that, I'm going to let her tell her story because she's much better at it than me. But Gina and I were involved in a mastermind group together. And that's how I got to know Gina and all her wonderfulness. She is a networking expert. Not only that, but she has a financial service business that is absolutely over the top successful. And she's coming out with a new book. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Gina is also a cancer patient and survivor. And we want to talk a little bit more about that story. And so Gina, welcome to Coffee with Lisa. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
And welcome. I come with a big cup.
Well, you know, we're very blessed right now because we have the gift of time. And we're going to talk about massive action today and what does that entail. And, you know, I believe when we have too much time in our hands, that can work against us or can work for us. And depending how we manage our time appropriately helps us whether or not we're going to actually take massive action, right? So we can either retreat and contract, or we can expand. And, you know, in order to take massive action, we have to expand in order to do that. So let's talk a little bit more about how can time work against us or for us?
Bill Gates said, the only thing he can't buy is time.
Yep.
And I believe in these interesting times that we are in right now, shelter in place or whatever they call it, wherever you are, we've been given a gift. And I say it's a gift because you have two choices. You can accept that gift and use your time wisely, or you can ignore it and you can waste that time. I choose to do the first. I choose to accept that gift. And I have decided that I am taking massive action during this time that we've been given, this downtime. I didn't realize how much time I spent driving around in a car or meeting someone for coffee, and maybe the coffee meeting went a little bit too long where we just started talking in circles and it wasn't serving either of us, making very good use of our time. And in coming to that realization, I decided that I was going to bump up everything I did throughout the day. I was going to bump up my morning routine. I was going to bump up the amount of phone calls that I made on a daily basis. I was going to bump up the amount of Zoom sessions because now we're doing everything on Zoom or social media. Somehow we're connecting that way. I bumped up the amount of cards that I sent people. So when I say massive action, I'm talking about real strategies that you can take, that you can track, because we can't improve what we don't measure. So something that is trackable and just bumping it up. And what I found was in doing that, it created more energy. Now, you did mention that I am a chemo patient. I am a cancer thriver, and energy management is very important to me, more than time management. We really can't manage time, but we can manage our energy, and we can manage. We have a choice. We can't control what's going on out there. We don't know exactly when we're going to be let off this restriction of having to be at home. sheltering in place and only going out if it's essential. We don't know. We don't know how many people are going to get the virus. We don't know. I don't want to talk really about the virus today. I want to keep this positive, but those are things that we don't know and we can't control. But what you can control is what you do every single day, from the food you eat, putting good food into your body, getting exercise, making all those bumping up your business reach outs to me in this time is key. And it will pay off hugely as we start getting back to a more normal routine and business is back to normal and those markets are coming back strong. Like, you're going to be ready. That's really the advantage of taking massive action today.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and for those of you who don't know Gina very well, Gina and I had a conversation last week, and I said to her, so Gina, what are some of the follow-up tips and tools that you have a very successful, thriving financial service business. You've got some other things that are happening that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But what are some of the things that you were doing? And then you told me how many I'm talking physical people, phone calls that she was making. And I'm like, Gina, you are a rock star. I do not know where you find the energy. You're surviving cancer and you're doing all this massive action. I thought I could move along fast, but man, you got it over me. So Gina was making all these phone calls. And what was the result of that massive action for you?
It was amazing. The information that people shared with me, one, they were really happy that I reached out, and I was surprised about that too. I don't know why, but they were like, oh, thank you so much for calling me, because nobody makes phone calls anymore. Yep. So that was the first thing. So the relationship was strengthened. They knew that I was thinking about them and I was thinking about their business, and I was finding out if there was a way I could be of service today. Also, in doing that, I was also keeping me and my business top of mind to them, because they're not going to forget that phone call that I made to them the first week they were, relegated to their home and couldn't go out and couldn't have that physical contact with people. They're not going to forget that phone call, because we had great conversations. We didn't just talk about the weather. We did not talk about the virus at all. Yep. I kept it very positive. Yeah, so it's key, staying in that positive mindset. I personally don't watch any news. Timothy Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week, when he wrote it back in, I don't remember the year, 2004, 5, 6, somewhere back there. He said, if there is something important, you're going to find out. You don't have to watch the news. And it's so true. I don't have to watch the news to know exactly what's going on in my community, in my state, in the United States, in Canada. I mean, anywhere. Like, if it's important, someone is going to tell me. So I don't need to waste and spend my time focusing on something that is designed to be very negative and scare me and put me in a fearful situation. I personally choose that. I lost my train of thought where I was going with that. Oh, Michelle said very true. Thank you, Michelle. I'm glad you agree with that. But not only is it true, it's a complete waste of time for me. I'm focused. I want to reach out to people and be positive. I don't have time to sit around and watch the news.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because, everybody is talking about the coronavirus, and we all know it's the elephant in the room. We get it. But it's time to move on. It's time to focus on the bigger, it's time to focus on this massive advantage that we have. You can either, like we talked about, you can either retract or you can expand. And right now is a time to really start to think about this as best as you can, because there's, everybody has a lot of things happening in their life that, stops them from actually having that positive attitude just based on experiences that happen. But it really is a time to take advantage of this opportunity of time. And, those things that were on the side of your desk, those tasks, projects, whatever it happens to be that were on the side of it, it's time to move them on over, folks. And it's time to get working on them, because this is the time when you can do that. And then eventually you're not going to have the time, because business will return, not to normal, but a new normal. We're not sure what that is. But then you're not going to have time again, because you're going to be so busy doing the typical day-to-day working in your business, rather than on your business. So, You have a
Well, I'll tell you, real quick before we move on, I'll tell you another thing that happened because of those phone calls.
Yeah.
I asked really good questions. That's why I got great information. So I didn't just leave it to chance. I called people with the intention of how can I be of service? How can I find out what they're working on right now? And a lot of people said, I'm really struggling. I am normally creative. I normally don't have a problem in figuring out what I'm supposed to be doing throughout the day, but I'm really struggling. And then I was able to offer them the message that I brought to you first about this is a gift. And if you look at it as a gift, then it makes it easier to move on because now you're accepting that I'm accepting this time. That's right. I can choose to learn something new. I can choose to eat healthy. I can choose to make these massive actions, take these massive actions in my business right now so that I'm prepared for the future.
I'm curious, Gina. So of all the, because I mean, you were making 40 to 80 phone calls a day. I mean, this woman was not just making 5 phone calls, folks. Like she was making big.
I made a lot.
So, so I've asked them to, put some great questions, whether you're rewatching this later or if you happen to be, Michelle, if you're watching right now, post a question or two. Let's talk about some great questions that people can ask. Because I think sometimes people get stumped on, oh, I'm not going to call because I don't know what to ask, or I'm not going to call because I don't want to focus on coronavirus and I'm afraid that's all they're going to talk about, right? So, you are the navigator and controller of the conversation. So you depict how you want the conversation to go. So curious, how many of those phone calls did people actually tell you, like, you know what, buzz off, Gina, we're not interested in talking to you?
None. No, they were, like I said, they were all, even shocked me. They were all so very gracious that I reached out to them, that I took time out of my day to talk to them. And what else it led to was I got invited. I booked like 3 speaking engagements because I reached out, and they're like, oh my gosh, can you share that message? Like, I feel my members of my Facebook group or members of my organization need to hear that message. Can you come on a Zoom? We already have it scheduled. Can you come on a Zoom and share that message with? So it gave me an opportunity. I don't have my notebook right here to grab, but the second week, I started not just tracking my Zoom sessions, but how many people I was in front of. So this week alone, I think I'm already up to 35, 45 people that I've been in front of on a Zoom that I got invited to. So I didn't have to do the setup and the asking and the inviting. It was just something that happened, like 45 extra people that I may not have had an opportunity to reach out to, or they didn't know me. Now they know who I am and what I stand for. And I've made some great connections through that. And now I can nurture those relationships moving forward because I have the time.
Exactly. So, let's talk a little bit about fatigue. You're thriving in cancer right now. So for those, Gina, tell a little bit of your story about your cancer, and then let's talk a little bit more about how fatigue can disable you from actually taking action.
In 2016, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma cancer, and that's the disease of the blood inside the bone marrow. It's a very painful cancer because it strips the calcium out of those bones, and then the bones deteriorate and start breaking. And at diagnosis, I was in bed for 45 days because I had pretty much my whole upper body was broken, and those bones had to heal, and I didn't get a full body cast or anything. So that's why I had to be in bed for so long. But what got me through it and how I manage that energy is I have a solid morning routine that I have been practicing since July of 2015. So I had already trained my brain on how to wake up, how to go through my morning routine, how to set a positive mindset, and then just work my plan. Well, when I was diagnosed with cancer, it gave me a place to go put the cancer. So I put the cancer in my morning routine. I dealt with the things that I needed to deal with and continued to do the things like meditate and pray and visualize, journal, write. And that's how Lisa has referred to my book. That's how and when I wrote the book, is in that morning routine. So fast forward, I still continue to do that today. So my morning routine begins at 5 a.m. no matter what. I'll give you 2 references if you're interested in learning about morning routine or how it works. One is The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, great book, sets up kind of the process. And the other is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. He breaks it down into 3 sections. It's a really fun read, and it gets you in the mindset of, this makes sense. Let me give it a try. So 5 a.m. is too early for you. I will challenge you, just give it a try. There's something magical about that 5 a.m. time. So between 5 and 7, I am doing my morning routine. I am setting up my day. And then when 7 o'clock rolls around, all I have to do is work my plan. Oh, Michelle said it's such a great book. Yay, you're a fan. Yes, both those books are awesome. There's a whole community built around the Miracle Morning if you need support. And then I believe there might be a community built around 5 a.m. Club, not sure. However, it's without fail. So when we got put on this restriction and shelter in place or whatever it's called where you are, I didn't waver from my routine. It wasn't an excuse to sleep in. It wasn't an excuse to stay in my pajamas all day. I still got up at 5. I still showered and put on my makeup. And well, I don't have to do my hair because I don't have any hair. But, you know, I got, oh, thank you. Thank you. I got ready. I get ready every day to go to work. My husband will say, where are you going? I said, to work. And so I'm just really walking into my office to sit down, but I am completely dressed.
Yeah, it would take me 5 steps instead of 5 minutes.
Right. So I get up and I go to work every day. It's not an excuse to taking massive action right now includes getting up and getting dressed and showing up. And here's what happens. When there's an opportunity to go live, I don't have to think about it because I'm ready to go. I don't have to say, oh, well, give me 5 minutes. Let me go get dressed and get out of my pajamas. And, you know, I love that cartoon about, oh, it's 9 o'clock p.m. It's time to get out of my daytime pajamas and get into my nighttime pajamas. No, that getting dressed keeps you in that positive mindset. Even if you're not going anywhere and you're not going to see anybody for the day mentally, there's something about getting ready and going to work that gets your mind in that mode.
Absolutely.
And so with the Cancer and managing that energy, so on my calendar every day, you will see, I do my calendar on my phone, you will see at either 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, depending on when my exercise schedule is, I have a whole exercise routine, but depending on that, I will be in my bed with my feet up for 1 hour. And I have a whole meditation that I go through. And if I'm really tired, I'll allow myself to sleep. Usually I can sleep for 20, 25 minutes. It's like a little quick cat nap and I wake up refreshed. Sometimes I don't sleep at all, but just at times I could, I just rest with my feet up. It's my time. I turn my phone off and I don't look at it. And so I give myself that re-energizing time. And you don't need to be sick to do this. It's actually a good idea, especially if you're over 50 like I am. It's a good idea to just take a break, give your mind, especially getting away from the electronics. That's the big thing. If you're, especially as we're working from home, there's the TV, there's the phone, there's the iPad, there's your computer, there's, you know, we're inundated by electronics today. And it's nice just in the middle of the day to shut it all off and take that break.
Absolutely. But, you know, being master networkers that we are, first I wanted to say there is, you could actually turn your getting to bed into a profitable productivity hack. Right now, currently, there is what they call hashtag bed talks going on. Have you seen it?
No, instead of TED Talks, they're bed talks. Okay.
Yeah, they're bed talks. And so people are doing bed talks. So I'm actually working on mine right now, but it's a great, you know, I love it because, you know, you see all these people, most of them are dressed, not in their pajamas, but at their bed and they're having this bed talk. So one day, right before you decide to sit back and relax, you should have a bed talk. But
I should, because I have a whole bedtime routine as well that sets me up for my morning routine at 5 a.m. so that my brain shuts off at 9. I feel I'm asleep by 9:02. And then at 5 o'clock or even before, I can't wait to get out of bed. Like it's just something that yeah, I don't know. I experienced a lot of post-traumatic growth from being diagnosed with cancer and being told my organs are shutting down and get my affairs in order. There was a lot going on back then. And every single day, I feel like because I kept that healing mindset, that positive mindset, that I've been able to grow, and being able to share with others is uplifting, not only to me, to others. It serves community. And the more I can share that positive mindset message with others, especially in today's environment, I feel blessed.
Well, and what you folks wouldn't know about Gina, and I can contest to this because I seen Gina, sitting, getting her chemotherapy appointment, and she's actually in our mastermind. Nothing stops her. She's not feeling that great, you can tell, but she's still there. She's still taking the action required despite the circumstances. So I think that's really important. You are very much an inspiration to me, and I know to many others. So you talked a little bit more about connectivity and turning your devices off. But let's talk a little bit more about the value of connectivity in business and in your relationships and what that means. How does connectivity play a role in taking massive action, Gina?
Well, first of all, you have to have built a network in order to reach out to people and move those relationships forward. But even if you're starting a business and you don't necessarily have that network, it's all about meeting new people and turning those chance encounters into profitable relationships for business. And when I say profitable, it doesn't just mean that someone's writing you a check. It could mean that, right? Yeah, it could mean money. It could mean they introduce you to others. It could mean you're going to joint venture on a project. And there's all kinds of profitable relationships there. But you have to have that mindset of continuing nurturing your network and reaching out to people. And I still say old-fashioned phone calls, even if they don't pick up, go a long way. Because now when I made all those calls, not everybody answered their phone. Not everybody returned my call. Some people returned an email. Some people returned by text. Some people reached out on Messenger. But I guarantee you during that week, there were a whole lot of people that were keeping me top of mind.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about in this environment. Connectivity equals top of mind.
Yeah.
And when you're top of mind, when someone has a need for your product or service or goes back to work and is starting to make money again, they're going to remember, oh, I need to reach out to Gina because this is what I need today. Or I need to reach out to Lisa because she called me and she let me know what was going on. And now I'm ready. Or I identified somebody that's ready. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about nurturing your network, staying connected, and taking massive action.
Well, and here's the gem in it all. Truly, what I believe is that the golden nugget of that is that people remember you how you act, not in the good times. People remember how you act in the bad times, in times of crisis. And I was on a Facebook Live here a few days ago about your personality styles and how the natural personality style tends to come out versus the adaptive personality. And so what I mean by that is lots of times people are at the workplace and they are more in their adaptive personality than they are in their natural personality. And so when crisis comes, all of a sudden it's like, who is this person in front of me? They don't act like that normally. And now all of a sudden it's like they're Jekyll and Hyde and they've done this completely different personality. But it's because of times of crisis, people don't necessarily react in the way that you would expect them to act. And they remember the way you act when you're in crisis or you're in that mode. So you're absolutely right. Top of mind is very important because people will remember, hey, I need this, or I need a financial service, or, I just got diagnosed with cancer and I'm struggling with all these challenges. Who's the first person they're going to think of? The guy that never phoned him, or Gina, because Gina phoned him in a time of crisis?
Or are they going to think of the person that's been posting like, oh, I can't believe it's day 18. What am I going to do? Or complaining, or are they going to remember the person who was like, hey, this is a gift. Let's take advantage of this time. And, it's funny. I reached a pretty good goal right before all this started going on. I was on I wanted to be the healthiest I can be. And I was so glad that I went on that journey because I hit my weight loss goal. I hit my body fat percentage goal. And I lost 60 pounds. And I feel I am so much better off today because I went on that journey. And it was something, again, in order to reach results, it's something that you have to track every day. You have to set your mindset. It became part of my morning routine, focused and set. I knew exactly what I was going to eat. I knew exactly, I set the day up to be successful. So when I hit that goal, I decided, okay, I've got that down. Like, I've got it figured out. Now, what's my next biggest challenge? And where I was struggling is because of the cancer and the broken bones and everything, I experienced some spinal compression. And what you might not know about me is I used to be 5'8", and now I'm 5'3". I lost 5 inches in my spine. So
I did not know that.
Yes. And so there are some funny things that happen because of that. No one asks me to reach for the top shelf anymore. I didn't realize how much reaching I did for people because I have really long legs and I have really long arms, but now I'm 5'3". Nobody asks me to reach to the top shelf anymore.
It's funny how the smallest things you miss when you don't have them.
Right. And my husband was just about an inch taller. So we used to look eye to eye, and now I get to look up to him every single day, which he loves. And he says I'm a better dance partner now because now he can twirl me. And, there's just all kinds of advantages. Another one is I was always in the back row of group photos.
Yeah.
And now I get to live life in the front row, and I get front and center. I am like proud to be in that front row.
One more big, Gina, you're missing the biggest advantage of them all. You get to buy a new wardrobe.
Well, of course, I had to get a new wardrobe because obviously my tops became dresses. However, when I lost 60 pounds, I had to go get I had to go get new clothes because I could not wear my old clothes any longer. And so that's just kind of a side note, funny thing about going from 5'8" to 5'3" literally overnight.
Yeah.
So very life-changing as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I did not know. I mean, I knew most about you, but that I didn't know. So that's interesting.
So I had to create a new goal, and my new goal had to do with strength. So just like in planning any other goal, I did my research. I figured out what can I do? What am I willing to do? What do I have fun doing? And I created this whole workout plan. And then I took it to my calendar and I said, oh boy, how am I going to implement this and do everything else I do and have the time for my rest? Like, how is it going to all work? And so I had just fit it all in and made it look all pretty. And then we got the shelter in place directive. And I'm like, wow, what another gift. Now I have plenty of time to get my new strength training routine get it going. And I have benefited so much from that. It's amazing. Just in a very short time, I feel I'm able to stand a little straighter. I don't have as much pain. I'm not like bent over and crawling to bed at the end of the day. I'm actually walking to bed. So it was just amazing. So little things like that, you can set a goal right now, take massive action and see what happens.
So Gina, it's a lot of pressures, you're not only, and the pressure of, not outside pressures as in financial pressures or what have you, but the pressure of, knowing, am I going to live tomorrow? What's that going to look like? I have children, like all those pressures of what's tomorrow going to bring. At any given time, like, did you feel like you would be self-sabotaging yourself in any way? Like, how does self-sabotage come into play with taking massive action? And did that come into play for you at all?
It did not come into play for me. It came in from outside influences. They're like, why are you worried about losing weight? Like, I said, well, I'm not worried about losing weight. I want to be the healthiest version of me I can be. That's why I'm doing it. It wasn't about weight loss per se. It was about being healthy. And what a gift that was. I didn't know we were going into this. So now I feel like I can face this challenge of what's going on out there with the healthiest self that I can possibly be. And I'm continuing to get stronger each day. So self-sabotage were things that came in from outside influences. I don't know why you do that. Why, man, if I were you, I would just lay in bed. And, it was those kinds of things where people couldn't wrap their head around, like, why is she so driven? Why is she doing this? And then a lot of people, they would start to complain about something, and then they would go, oh, wait a second. And like, oh, but that doesn't compare to what you've been through. And I laugh when they say that. I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. We're not going to measure our things. We all have things that we go through. And so it's just deciding, am I going to have a healing, positive mindset, or am I going to go down the dark despair road? And again, we have two choices. I chose to live by faith and not fear. You have a choice. You can live in fear, or you can live in faith. You can't do both at the same time.
No.
So
how did you how did you eliminate the self-sabotage of others in your life? Because you can't just say, Mary Sue, who happens to be, a cousin or, whatever. You can't just say, hey, go away. So how do you get your mind wrapped around? Because self-sabotage, and you're trying to overcome cancer, you don't need any negativity in your life. You've got enough going on. So how did you overcome it? How did you stop that way?
Yeah, I just explained to people. And then one of my big things that I learned early on is to ask myself, why is this person here with me now? Because there was a deeper reason we were connecting at that time, at that moment. Just because they were a friend of mine, of course, thing to do is to go visit a friend when they're sick, right? In the hospital or at home, doesn't matter. But there's always that deeper reason. And the more I developed that mindset of finding out, why is this person here with me today? So when those things did come up, it was really a projection of what was going on in their life. They just chose to put it on to me. And then I just turned it right back around. And then I helped support them through it. Yeah. And I would find out what's going on with them. That's pretty much how I dealt with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, sometimes it's more about their story than yours. And, often when you're in conflict or in a moment of, we're talking about self-sabotage, but in a moment where, the conversation is not so great and it's not so positive and it's not a great attitude to move into, often that's their story and it's projecting back on you, and it's something that's happening in their life. And so sometimes I think for people, the how is just take a step back and think about what's happening in their life. And maybe it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. No judgment. I just, and like I said, I just learned from every person that I came into contact with, and I continue to learn from people. And one of my gifts is just taking information and being able to analyze it and then turn it around and turn it into a teaching moment. And then I just share that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, it keeps me top of mind, no matter what I'm talking about, whether I'm talking about going through the cancer journey or networking or business or financial services or connecting others with other people. It's just what I do and how I stay top of mind.
Yeah. So I'm, if I can get the technology to work properly, I'm going to show everybody. Okay, let's see here. So if I do this, and then I do this, and I do this, we should have, there we go. Gina's new book is Start Here, A Guide Through the Cancer Journey. Let's talk a little bit, because if you're out there and you've just been diagnosed with cancer and you are watching this, or you have a loved one who has cancer, or a friend, a child, whatever the case may be, Gina has wonderfully taken her story and created this book. Let's talk a little bit more about Start Here.
The reason I came up with the name, and by the way, the book will be released on September 7th of this year, 2020. This is not the actual cover of the book. It's just a mock-up for a Facebook group that I have. But the reason I titled it Start Here is because a friend of mine who came to visit me early on, his mother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer a few years back. And he was looking for a way to support. And so he went to the bookstore and he was just looking around and looking around and looking at books, and he couldn't figure out where to start. And he was frustrated and he kind of threw up his hands and he walked out. So when he was telling me that story, I'm like, oh, what an opportunity. He was looking for a place to start. So now I wrote this It's more of a guide than a book, and it's start here. It's something that you can put your hands on and hold and read through quickly and find resources. And I share information, ideas, and I share my story, and I share the positive mindset of how you can choose to be in a healing mindset or choose or not. And just sharing the story and sharing some funny things that happen along the way. It's for the patient. It's for people that want to buy a gift for their friend. What kind of gifts are acceptable? There's a lot of things that you need to think about before you get a gift. And people want to bring food, and that's a whole challenge in itself. So I give all kinds of tips and resources of what worked for me. And, I share, one of the things I share there that is so important, that when somebody gets sick and when it's at that point where the word gets out quickly, like, hey, Gina's in the hospital and she might die, and everyone wants to come and run and help, it's okay to give people assignments. That's what I learned. Like, hey, you know what, I like, let your needs be known. Hey, I need this. Can you handle? And then they would go do it, and they felt like they were serving me. Yeah. And then it kept them from, being upset or going.
They want to be busy, right? They want to feel needed and helpful. So give them tasks. I love that. Yeah. Delegate.
One of the tasks I gave my daughter, because she was struggling and having, trouble putting her head around everything that was going on. And so I said, honey, I need a notebook. I need you to go to all my doctors. I need you to get all my medical records and put them in the notebook and organize it, put it all in one place. And so she's so sweet. So she was like a woman on a mission, and she went out. So when she brought it back to me, it was completely done. It has my name here, Gina. And she put pictures of the family and my dog and my grandkids and my brother and the whole family. And it was so sweet because, I just thought I was just going to get a plain old notebook, and this is what I got. And so basically, this is a whole history of my first year of being diagnosed, all in one place that I can grab. I don't really need to reference it much anymore, but occasionally I do need to look something up and find out, what was that? If I'm going back and looking for information.
That's interesting because, you learned a way to make people feel helpful. You got tasks done by delegation, and everybody was all the happier because of it. So who knew, right? Like,
who knew? Yeah. And that just, and I really didn't know, but I learned that lesson when she came back with that. She was so proud of herself because she had completed the task. And then it was so beautiful. I was like, you're so creative and so sweet. And what a gift.
Well,
and it kept her mind busy. Mm-hmm. Kept her mind busy.
Very good. So we're going to close out the show here right away. And, massive action, you can either retreat and contract, you can do nothing, or you can actually choose to, and I say choose because Gina and I are talking about, everything in life is a choice. Take massive action. What's the one tip, Gina, or the challenge that you would like, if you're watching this right now and you would like a viewer to do or act on or delegate in this case?
Pick up the phone, make some old-fashioned phone calls, and don't be afraid of what the other person might or might not say on the other end of the call. And if they don't answer, leave an uplifting message. You'll be surprised what happens.
And you and I, before the show, talked about, everybody's been talking lately. I've been on a lot of podcasts. And so, we're talking at a very high level about the why and not so much about the how. So, Gina, you're going to call me. Let's talk about it. What's that look like? So if you're watching, you actually know the script that Gina uses, and you can use that script too.
Hi, Lisa. This is Gina. Now, am I leaving a message or am I talking to you in person?
No, you're going to leave a message.
Okay, I'm leaving a message. So, hi, Lisa. This is Gina. I might add a clarifier. If we're not close friends, you might not know who I am. I might say, we met at the XYZ organization. I'm reaching out to you today for two reasons. One, I wanted to see how you're doing, how you're holding up in these interesting times. And the other one is I want to find out, what project are you working on? What's exciting you right now? give me a call, 559-790-2579. Gina Estrada, 559-790-2579.
You heard it, folks. Call Gina. She wants to hear from you. Okay, and now let's do the role play scenario. I just love role playing. What if I answer the phone? Hey, Gina, how's it going?
Hey, Lisa. I'm so happy that you actually picked up the phone. There's a lot of people that don't answer the phone anymore. They're afraid of it, but I enjoy reaching out, and I'm reaching out to you today for two reasons. One, I just want to see, how are you holding up in these interesting times? How are you feeling? And then the other is, I want to know, what project are you working on right now? What's exciting you? What are you trying that's new?
Oh, Gina, you know I'll always answer the phone. That's awesome. Thank you very much, Gina. Stay healthy, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Lisa. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed serving your community. Bye.
Thank you.